Good day to you all. Today's lesson is going to be on simplifying variable expressions with radicals in them if I have some kind of a root with a variable inside. So part of this is just going to be a review. We've done simplifying radicals, we just haven't looked at problems that have variables in them. So these have two parts, all right? Like number one, square root of 36 x squared. I have to work out the square root of 36 and I have to work out the square root of x squared. So the number part is easy. It's just like what we've been doing. 36 is a perfect square. What's the square root of 36? It is 6. But the x squared part, it's easier, I think, if you rewrite it as a fraction exponent. Remember, this is a 2 root if they don't put a number there. So this is like x to the 2 over 2 power. And 2 halves is 1. So that's just x to the 1. So my answer to this would simplify down to just 6x. 6x times 6x would give me 36x squared. Now if you look at number 3, this one's a little bit more complicated. Again, this is a square root. First of all, if I'm just working out square root of 216, and then I'm also going to have to do the variable part. So I'll come back to that in a minute. Now square root of 216. All right, 216 is not a perfect square, but I could split it up into a perfect square times something. And again, it might be helpful if you keep that list from the other day, from last week, of perfect squares, perfect cubes. I could split 216 up into 36 times something. If you use your calculator, 36 times 6 gives you 216. All right, so that is the square root of 36, and then square root of 6. And then what's the square root of 36? It's 6. So that reduces to 6 square root of 6. That's the number part of the answer. Now I have to do the variable part. Now I have square root of x to the third. Again, that's a 2 root. So this is like x to the 2 over 3 or 3 over 2 power? 3 over 2. All right, now this time, 2 doesn't divide into 3 evenly, but it does divide in. This is the same thing as x to the 2 goes in 3 one time, so 1, and then how much is left over? A half, because 2 halves plus 1 half could be 3 halves. So this is like x to the 1 and 1/2 power. So what that means is I have just an x that's going to go outside the radical, and then I still have x to the 1/2, that's the square root of x. Because x to the 1/2, that's the 2 root to the 1 power. So now I just need to put all this together. Anything not under the root goes together, anything under the root goes together. So my answer would be 6x square root of 6x. All right, so again, simplify the radical and then fraction exponent, whatever's left over after you divide that bottom into top, that's what goes under the root. All right, 2 more real quick. If you look at square root of 96n, all right, again, let's start with just the square root of 96. That 96 is not a perfect square, but I could split it up into 16 times 6. What's the square root of 16? It's 4. So I'd have 4 square root of 6, and then that's the number part. Now I have to do the variable part. Square root of n. This is like n to the what over what? There's a 1 exponent here. It's a 2 index, a 2 root. So n to the 1/2. Now this one, 2 won't go into 1 at all. I can't divide that, so there's nothing more I can do with that. That's just the square root of n. So now I just need to put all this together. My answer is going to say 4 square root of 6n. One more problem, then y'all are going to try something. If you look at number 7, it's a 4th root this time. Now, 243. Now, if I look at my 4th root list, 243 isn't on there. It's not a perfect 4th, but I can split it up into one of these. All right, 81 is going to work. If you do 243 divided by 81, it'll give you 3. So I can split. Let me just start with the 4th root of 243. I can split that up into 4th root of 81 times the 4th root of 3. Now what is the 4th root of 81? It is 3. So I'm getting 3 4th root of 3. There's the number part of my answer. Now the fraction part, this is p to the what over what? 3 over 4. All right, that's not an improper fraction. I can't divide 4 into 3, so there's nothing more I can do with that. That would just stay as the 4th root of 3, or the 4th root of p to the 3rd power. So now put them together. My final answer is going to be 3, that on the screen, 3 4th root of 3p to the 3rd. Okay, now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try these 4 problems right here. I hope you tried them. Let's check our answers. So these 4, number 2, square root of 252, x to the 3rd. That's going to be square root of 36 times 7, so 6 square root of 7. And then the variable part going to be x to the 3/2. So that's going to be 1 1/2, which means you get just an x and then a square root of x. So put it together, 6x square root of 7x. Number 4, remember, negative under the root, if it's an odd root, you don't have to have I. It just means the answer is negative. But split 750 up into 125 times 6. Cube root of 125 is 5, and then cube root of 6. And then this is going to be r to the 2 over 3. Can't divide that. So that would just stay as cube root of r squared. So the answer is -5 cube root of 6 r squared. Number 6, this one's pretty easy. 144 already square root, so that's just 12. And then b to the 4/2, you can divide that, that's just b squared. No root left in that answer. And then number 8, square root of 128, split that up into 64 times 2, so that's 8 square root of 2. And then this is going to be v to the 2/2, 2 over 2, which is just v to the 1. So it's going to go outside the root. Okay, so now let's look at a few more complicated problems. I'm going to do 3 more. Again, same idea, it's just some of these problems are going to have more than one variable. So I'm start with my number, 4th root of 324. That's not a perfect 4th number. So look at your 4th list. I can split that up into 81 times 4. This is like 4th root of 81 times the 4th root of 4. And what's the 4th root of 81? It's 3. So I have 3 4th root of 4. But now I have to do each of the variables separately. So I'm going to start with x. X to the, this is what over what? 8 over 4. And that one I can divide. What's 8 divided by 4? It's just x squared. So no fraction left there, so that's not going to go under a root. And then y's, y to the 5 over 4. All right, this one I can divide. It's an improper fraction, so I will get, well, I'll get y to the 1 1/4. So y to the 1, that's just going to be a y on the outside, and then y to the 1/4, so this is like y, and then 4th root of y. So now put it all together. That answer is going to say 3x squared y. It's not y to the 4th, that's y, and then 4th root of y. And then 4th root of, I'm going to have a 4 and a y. Oops. 3x squared y, 4th root of 4y. Let's look at 2 more. Look at number 11. 32, I got a square root this time. 32 is not a perfect square, so split it up into 16 times 2. What's the square root of 16? 4. So I got 4 square root of 2. Remember, this is a 2 root. So now let's look at the variables. Let's do a. That's going to be a to the 2/2, which is just a to the 1. No root left. And then b to the what over what? 3/2, 3 over 2. Now that is going to be a mixed number. If I divide that, that would be b to the 1 1/2. 1 1/2. So that means I'm going to have b to the 1, so just b outside the root, and then I'm going to have a square root of b to the 1 power. So now put the 3 parts of our answer together, and that's going to say 4a b square root of 2b. One last problem. All right. Square root this time. We got 3 variables, so I need to do all 3. So square root of 75, let's split that up into 25 times 3. Square root of 25 is 5, so that becomes 5 square root of 3. And then I need to work each of the variables separately. Remember, this is a 2 root, so that would be p to the 3/2. All right, I'm going to have, well, let me just work that one out. So that's the same thing as p to the 1 and 1/2 power, which is p and then square root of p. Now the q's. Q to the what over what? 4 over 2, which is just 2. Q squared. Let me just underline these different parts of my answer. So q squared, and then I need to do the r's. R to the 2 over 2 power, which is what? R to the 1. So put it all together. I'm going to have 5p q squared and r, and then square root of 3p. All right. Now I want you to pause the video one more time. Try these last set of problems right here. Okay, I hope you did them. Let me show you the final answer for all these. Number 10, square root of 294, split that up into 49 times 6, so 7 square root of 6. That's going to be x to the 4/2, which is x squared, and y to the 3/2, or y to the 1 and 1/2, so y squared of y. So final answer is 7x squared y, square root of 6y. Number 12, 4th root of 162, split it up into 81 times 2. So 4th root of 81 is 3, so you get 3 4th root of 2. Then you have m to the 8/4, which is just m squared. You have n to the 5/4, or n to the 1 and 1/4. So that's n, and then 4th root of n. Put it all together, 3m squared n, 4th root of 2n. And then last couple problems, number 14. Should look like that. Split up 128 into 32 times 4. 5th root of 32 is 2, so 2 5th root of 4. You get x to the 5/5 power, so x to the 1. You have y to the 3/5. Can't divide that, so that's going to stay as 5th root of y to the 3rd power. And then same thing with z. Z to the 3/5, can't divide that, so that's going to be 5th root of z to the 3rd power. All right, so put it all together. You'd have 2x, and then 5th root of 4, y to the 3rd, z to the 3rd. And then number 16, it'll look like that. Split up 250 into 125 times 2. Again, 125, perfect cube number. That's 5, cube root of 2. It's going to be x to the 2/3. Can't do anything with that, so that's cube root of x squared. I'm going to have y to the 8/3. That one I can divide. That's 2 and 2/3. So I'm going to leave me with y squared, and then cube root of y squared. And then I also have z to the 8/3. I can divide that. That's going to be z to the, let's see, that's going to be 2 and 2/3. All right, and so that becomes z squared, and then cube root of z squared. And then that's a lot of stuff, but you put it all together, 5 y squared, z squared, going to go together on the outside, and then cube root of 2 x squared, y squared, z squared goes under the root. And then I know you really couldn't see this problem, but if you did number 15, do it the same way. Going to be 10 mp square root of 2n. Okay, I hope that was helpful.